I can sell you a $20 million painting, but I can't tell you why a piece of code is money. That's an interesting paradox.
Hmm.
So that was the journey. And so I dove deep and began to question what is money exactly? I thought it was currency. I was wrong. And then what creates value? Why do things have value? What is it about us that ascribes value to things? And then I literally went down a rabbit hole. And it's actually not too far off what Michael Saylor or some of these people talk about, do 100 to 1,000 hours on it. And you really dive into podcasts and dive into the books and ask yourself, go on an intellectual journey about what does all this stuff mean and why is it important? And then there's startling insights that I have now at age 59 that I didn't have at age 57 that came from this journey. You want an example?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that if the average year the money printer goes, call it 8 to 10%, even in the Western countries, even in the OECD nations, and the average return on the S&P 500 is, call it 9-ish%, including dividends, maybe 9.7, maybe a little less,
Mm-hmm.
that it means that all of the work of the S&P 500, all of the value created there is actually the money printer. That to me was startling. I mean, to think about that, the fundamental notion that in a closed system or even an open system, when you're printing money at the rate of 8 to 10% a year, everything is losing value. And the things that appear to be gaining value are not gaining value. They're just keeping you even. So you can put all your money in the S&P 500 and you're not gaining any relative wealth at all.
What's going on, bull runners? Welcome back to the channel. We have an incredible video for you today. What is it that you need to be paying attention to over the next 6 to 12 months to really set yourself up for the future? We're going to go over lots of bullish indications in today's video. And if this is your first ever bull run, you don't know what to experience. I completely understand that. Every day you may be wondering, is this the top? Is this the top? Is this the top? I believe that we are just getting started. And if this is your second bull run or possibly your third bull run, you know that this time you need to take some profits at the top and even on the way to the top. I'm not a financial advisor, so please do not take that as financial advice. Do your own research, take your own profits at your own levels. But everyone knows if you've done a round trip cycle where you were up $5,000 and then you were back to zero, you know you need to take profits. Today, we got a lot of headlines to cover over here on X.com. Breaking news. We will also be jumping into the charts for us today. XRP, we'll take a look at. Bitcoin makes another new all-time high, over 77,000. We'll take a look at that. Ethereum starting to make its move up, and it did break through up to that fair value gap that we've talked about. We'll continue to monitor these coins. And also huge news, if you are already on the Bull Runners newsletter, you've got an email. The early bird access is now available. An early bird list will be closing in 2 days and 3 hours. So if you would like to join us and become a partner with our program here, are you ready to become a crypto millionaire? Take your knowledge and portfolio to the next level. Join our early bird list for exclusive altcoin picks, market analysis, and get early bird access to our crypto education inner circle that is alive now. Click the blue button, enter your best email address here, and reserve your spot on the list. And for those of you guys starting to feel the FOMO, I'm starting to feel it myself, right? I want to pile in tons and tons of capital into the markets, but you have bills, you have a budget, you don't have extra side money to spend. At the end of this video, I'm going to be showing you how you could partner with us as well on a project that can help businesses, and in return for your help, we will help you earn some money. But as we saw in the video in the very beginning, the former CEO of Sotheby's, Tim Smith, it is his job, obviously, to know value, retired and studied Bitcoin and the economy. And Brian goes on to say here, please, I urge you to understand as Bitcoin goes from 76,000 to 1 million and beyond, take 2 minutes to change your family future. And as you know, we're always really bullish on XRP. And unfortunately, we have not had that super moon rocket ship move yet. But we are starting to experience that with Bitcoin. We are starting to see that potentially with Ethereum. coins are definitely starting to get bullish. XRP is still in the muck and mire of the current situation with the SEC. It is almost done. And speaking of the SEC situation, just in, President-elect Trump is considering Wall Street lawyer Richard Fairley to replace the SEC chair Gary Gensler. New York Post reports. Now, this is pretty wild and out of left field, because if you guys remember, we've been following this because this is happening. Gary Gensler is getting removed. It was also announced Gary Gensler is under investigation and has been under investigation since September 10th. So he may even be in trouble on top of being removed from his position. And there was lots of talks. And now this was just rumors. This was not anything coming out of the Trump camp. This is just rumors of what would be a good fit. We did have Mark Ueda had a chance of becoming the new chair. And this was Mark right here. And the day before this rumor, so this is 3 days in a rumor, 3 days in a row of a rumor of who the new SEC chair is going to be. The day before that, it was Hester Pierce, the crypto mom, who was rumored to be the top pick for replacing Gary Gensler under Donald Trump. But just now, breaking information, this is the first piece that has come out that is apparently coming from the Trump camp, which is really highly interesting. And when I was going through doing some research, figuring out what I wanted to talk about today, this was one of the most intriguing posts, because I know, like I said, a lot of you guys are starting to feel the FOMO, like, oh no, did I miss out? Is Bitcoin coming to a top? Well, I really do feel that there's a huge surge for crypto still to come. Like, the bull run is just getting started. Will we have a pullback? There's always a chance of that, and we'll see that in the charts when we go look. But check out what Daniel Got Hit said here. You think we're in euphoria? Laugh out loud. Call me when someone is paying $1.8 million for a picture of a transformer again. And what he's referring to was when the bull run was going on in 2021, December 29th. This was a post here. A Mechverse number 2194 just sold for 500 ETH. That was $1.8 million at the time. So we are not in euphoria stage yet. We are, however, starting to get into the situation where we are getting some of the retail investors are coming in. And how do we know that? Well, obviously you are watching this channel. And by the way, if you're new here, make sure you click subscribe. We'd love to have you. If you don't subscribe, we may never see you again. But our views, you can see it when you're a YouTube creator, views start to crank to the upside when your niche is starting to become more popular. We also have right here, just in Google searches for Bitcoin are surging as the price hits 76,000, now 77,000. So as we know, when it starts to get to extreme tippity top, it's usually in the 75 and plus range when we're going to have that pullback for like the top of the potential bull run. But right now we are just starting. We are still under the 50 level, but it is starting to increase, which is exciting. This is really positive news. And then we also have Benjamin Cohen, who does an amazing job on YouTube, and he's also here on X.com. But BTC is at 76K, and still no one cares, he says. YouTube views to these crypto YouTube channels is still running at a quarter of what they were averaging in 2021. We are starting to pick up. I know that from what our channel views are doing. And then I also saw Alex Becker had posted views on my crypto YouTubes are starting to skyrocket. That means one thing, and this was 12 hours ago. Retail is coming. You are early. Your bag's about to go up. So his last two views over 240,000. He does a phenomenal job. But for context, last bull run, he could put up a video of himself playing banjo to Bitcoin, and it would pull down 800,000 views. So not quite there. Still a quarter of the way, as we saw with Benjamin Cohen as well saying that. So why so bullish, you may ask? Well, just in, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is now larger than its gold ETF. Yes, that is correct. Think about this. Their gold ETF has been around for quite some time. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is even bigger. And here we have a picture of it. Net assets as of November 7th, 2024. The Bitcoin ETF is at $33 billion, and their gold is at $32 billion. And Bitcoin's ETF is only getting started. Okay, but what are more signs that you should be bullish on what's going on? Well, Michael Saylor tweeted out a video here. Nations will adopt Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset.
It's going to be very difficult to fix the deficit with just changes in taxes and spending. But it's probably why Bitcoin is kind of interesting here because it's potentially a treasury reserve asset. And, if Bitcoin rises in price, it actually helps offset the liabilities, which is the deficit.
So you were at 150, I think, on Bitcoin, weren't you? But
Yeah.
not necessarily by the end of this year, or
I think six figures is still possible for it before the end of the year. Yeah.
and then more next year and the year after.
Yeah, I think because now, post halving and now Bitcoin's becoming a lot more relevant, and I think maybe the regulatory overhang is diminishing, that there's a lot of upside from here.
There's a lot of upside from here. Love to see that. Also, wanted to tweet this out. And, I want to let you know, yesterday we talked about the Fed, our reserve, and my video was definitely throttled as compared to, so I got to be careful on how I say things when it comes to this topic here. But this week, the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, was asked if he would step down. The president asked him to resign. Powell's answer was no, the law does not permit the president to fire the Fed chairman. And he goes on here. Powell didn't mention, however, that the Federal Reserve is to begin with. No power was ever granted to them to create a monopoly bank that manipulates interest rates and counterfeits the supply of this. So the big issue is not who has more authority over the other, the president or the Fed chairman. The issue is that the F reserve should not exist at all. And I'll go ahead and retweet this and you guys can take a look at this. And in some amazing international news when it comes to Bitcoin, just in United States lowers the travel alert level for El Salvador due to the reduction in crime. So they're doing a phenomenal job. Obviously, their whole economy is now running on Bitcoin. They hired their own Trump version of their president there, and he has been cracking down on crime and doing a really great job. I also saw this post right here from Andrew Tate. BTC all-time high doesn't make any headlines anymore. And this, I talked to you guys about this a couple of days ago when we got to the first all-time high. It's like, no one even cares. No one's talking about it. There's no woohoo. Like if you remember from previous cycles, when we got to that level, it was like people were lighting fireworks off in the street. I mean, literally, right? There's no emotional reaction and no one cares right now. That's how early it is. This is a good thing. It's only up territory, price discovery mode. There's no shock or awe. Expectation is belief. Yeah, it's supposed to be this. People are starting to understand that $100,000 Bitcoin is real. When will XRP start to get the feeling that $10 is just normal or $100 is normal? Is that coming? And he goes on, we know that this will break all-time highs. We don't care. Higher to Valhalla. We did have Brad Garlinghouse speaking to BBC News. So we'll take a listen to this.
Another token seeing big gains over the past few days is XRP, which has been developed by the digital payment network Ripple. It's currently valued at around $11 billion and is trying to go mainstream by launching its own ETF. However, it's currently involved in a long-standing case with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is blocking the launch. For more on all this, we're now joined by the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. So welcome, Brad. Let's start with that tweet that you have sent on a crypto checklist to Donald Trump for his first 100 days, including firing SEC Chair Gary Gensler. What are the main things that you want him to address?
Well, as you probably know, Donald Trump has been kind of a crypto advocate and the crypto president by his self-proclamation around that for a number of months during the campaign. And he has actually said that one of the first things he would do in office is to do everything he can do to remove Gary Gensler, who has really waged a war against crypto in the United States. The irony, of course, is many countries around the world, even the UK, Switzerland, Singapore, have really leaned into crypto, created clear rules, which has allowed entrepreneurs and capital to flow in and allow the industry to grow and thrive.
But while Trump is seen as favorable for crypto leaders and investors, does his recent alignment with crypto actually pose some ethical concerns? I mean, he's launched the cryptocurrency project World Liberty Financial. Is this a potential conflict of interest now that he has a stake in the industry, Brad?
You know, I think obviously Donald Trump has stakes in lots of industries, and I think the voters decided that they preferred Donald Trump Trump as opposed to other candidates throughout the process. So I don't really take a position on that. I think there's obviously a lot of disclosure laws, and I think as his second trip to the White House, I'm sure there's plenty of people around him that are experienced with that. I do think, regardless of his own participation in different parts of the economy, we've got to get the United States growing in as it relates to this industry. And the Biden administration, really not just the United States SEC, but other parts of the government as well, have been pretty hostile towards crypto, despite its growth, despite that it's over a $2 trillion market today.
And with a Donald Trump win, are you expecting a resolution in this Ripple versus SEC lawsuit? I mean, this was surrounding whether XRP is considered a security or a digital currency. And what do you think a resolution would mean for the broader crypto industry?
Look, as you probably know, we've been fighting with the SEC for 3.5 years. We won that case last summer. The SEC, the judge in that case declared very explicitly, XRP in and of itself is not a security. The SEC is appealing part of that decision, but importantly, they're not appealing the part of the decision that says XRP is not a security. So we feel very good about that. The law of the land of the United States is that XRP is not a security. What's frustrating, I think, for the whole industry is that only Bitcoin and XRP really have the explicit regulatory clarity in the United States. Other leading cryptocurrencies like ETH and Solana have been a little bit of fuzzy land. It's really kind of maddening, and I think madness, to think we're going to litigate every single token one by one. We've been challenging the government, challenging the SEC to create clear rules of the road, as you've seen in the UK, as you've seen in Japan, where they've created taxonomies so that the regulation is clear. And people in the US crypto industry want to follow the rules. We just have to have clarity about what the rules are.
Checking in on the XRP charts. This is the daily chart for XRP. Today, we are having a red day. We do have 2 hours, 5 minutes left in today's candle. Let's also go ahead and take a look at the weekly chart here. And we're going to turn on our fair value gaps here. And you can see we did have a fair value gap right here. It had been filled already. We are pushing to the upside. 2 days and 3 hours left in this candle to move to the upside. When we take a look at the daily fair value gap, you can see that there was a little bit of a fair value gap left here from the penetration back on October 17th to the upside, but it didn't fill this whole gap. As of yesterday, that gap is filled. The only remaining upside fair value gap is up here at 60 cents. Heading over here to our escrow sell-off charts. These blue lines represent the escrow sell-off. We have moved nicely. We did have a little sell-off into that 50-cent support level as opposed to the previous sell-offs. Remember, the escrow unlocks the first of every single month. Then those XRP tokens can be sold on the open market or given back to escrow or put into the on-demand liquidity pool. Looks like they didn't do much selling off this time, which was very nice. Price came down to that 50-cent level. Over the last 3 days, it's moved back up into that 55-cent level. Today, it did dip a little lower, but our candle is still potentially closing. I mean, we do have 2 hours left, but it looks like the candle for the day will close above the 55-cent level. We talked about it being a resistance. Now we could be finally flipping it back to a support. This has not been a positive support level since it broke through it back on September 12th. Went up, nice move up to the 65-cent range. Unfortunately, we did lose that level on October 2nd, but now we've regained it. It is official. We closed the candle above it yesterday. Today's candle more than likely will also close above it, so looking very positive. So where are we going next? Well, when we take a look at our charts, we have some very important areas of interest to the upside. So first and foremost, we have this level right here, which it did penetrate through yesterday, and it also rejected back when it got there. So there was a lot of sellers in this level at that 57-cent level. However, after we push through this and that becomes a support, which was this key level right here, as you can see, it was a resistance for a long time, became a support for us, and then we lost it again. Well, now it has become a support for us again. That's that 55-cent level. We would love to see this price push back up into the next zone, which is 58 to 59-cent level, which is here. When we go to a smaller time frame like the 4-hour and switch over to the Heikin-Ashi candles, you can see that there's nothing but a free fall on the 4-hour charts. So this very well could be an extreme push to the upside. Now, when you get to the smaller time frames like the 1-hour chart, which is where we pulled some of these charts key areas here. The white ones are the 1 hour key area levels. We'll notice that right now we're in a nice accumulation phase on the 1 hour. And let's go ahead and turn our moving averages back on. On the 1 hour charts, we did break into the bullish territory momentum with our moving averages. We also have bullish momentum territory with our 4 hour moving averages. And now the daily is potentially going to make its way there as well. Now, remember, what does that entail? Well, that entails the 10 exponential moving average crossing above the 30 and the 50, and then the 30 following behind it. Historically, when this happens, it flips bullish, prices run. When it flips bearish, the opposite is true. And if you've watched me in my charting videos in the past, one thing I do not like, and I'm just going to be completely transparent about it right now, it is really exciting when you get this massive bullish candle. But it is also very scary because it leaves a fair value gap to the downside, meaning price tends to come back and fill these levels. Will it happen now or will it happen in the future? Time will tell. Honestly, it's probably better for it to happen now, but everyone wants to experience some euphoria for a little while. So let's see if we can push to the upside. Now, what you'll notice is there was a fair value gap from this push. Remember, this was a push that started in July 8th of 2024. Nice solid push up. But then when we got up here to these levels, 65 cents, it rejected, came back and filled these fair value gaps. So when we take a look, well, what about some positive news? Tell me some positive news, Ryan. Well, we got a fair value gap sitting right here, 75 cents. That still needs to be filled. And that one comes back to us from July of 2023. And then we also have a fair value gap that was penetrated, but not fully saturated right here. You can see that there's this level left, and this one's all the way up at $1.40. And you may be like, oh, there's no way that fair value gaps, it's not a real thing. I mean, look at this. This is what's absolutely insane. If we go back and we're on the daily here, when we had our super massive push up to the new all-time high, and then we started having the crash, look at this crash here. This left a fair value gap from January of 2018. We had this extremely long bear level here. Boom, price pushed up and surged right literally into that fair value gap. There was a gap in the market at that level. When it got there, people unloaded their holdings at that point. We have the same situation up here at $2.50. But it is really exciting to think about the levels above because we're only at 55 cents. And to get to that level at the top, like we just talked about, I mean, look at how much you have to shrink the chart to even fit it in here. But $2.55 to the upside. We have a $2 move to fill in that fair value gap just off of that. Let's see. We go from price where it is to the fair value gap. You got a 372% move. All right, so we're going to quickly touch on Ethereum here. We got a blue line. This is when the Ethereum ETF was launched. Price came down and bounced off the 1100 exponential moving average on the daily. It's been moving up since. We have turned all of the moving averages as of today. So we have the white 10 exponential moving average above the yellow and the red because the yellow just crossed the red today. So we got some bullish momentum coming for sure. Again, look what happened. Price got up into a fair value gap on the daily above. There is another one right above it here at $3,010. So that's coming. Everyone should be really excited about a $3,000 Ethereum again because it's been so long. Check this out. On the daily charts, the next move for a fair value gap is all the way up at 3,700. Now, when we go to a smaller time frame, it gives you a lot more levels. Okay, so and this is a free indicator, by the way. When you're using TradingView, all you got to do is look up fair value gap, Spaceman BTC, and it pulls these up. Now, what is interesting, we're looking at the 4-hour chart here. It got here and filled in this fair value gap, but it does have fair value gaps to the downside that will get filled. So I'm going to continue remaining extremely bullish, and let's just run this thing up as high as possible. We'll get a pullback later. We'll be able to take some profits. I don't care if it leaves here and it takes off for a year and it has to come back to this level later. That is fine. Let's make some moves to the upside and let's get some profits to take. Now let's look at this on the weekly chart. Where are we on our fair value gaps to the upside on the weekly chart? You can see right now, we just pretty much filled in this fair value gap. There's a little bit more room that gets us up to 3,086. Looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin surging, got a new all-time high today, 77,000. Obviously, there's not going to be any fair value gaps to fill above that because it's new all-time highs. But once this candle closes in 2 days, if it's up here and it didn't retrace back to where this candle is, this wick right here, then we'll have that fair value gap. We do have a weekly fair value gap to fill at 64,000. We switch to the daily charts and take a look. Obviously, the last couple of days have been this really exponential growth, which is exciting, but we did leave on November 6th, the day after the election, this big fair value gap that could be filled. Now, what's also interesting is if price came back and filled that in, it would be bouncing off of essentially the 30 exponential moving average at that point. So if we do not have an exponential growth here, maybe we have a pullback, we get that November 10th, November 11th range. It's going to take a couple days to get down there. Maybe it comes and wicks down in 1 day, and it doesn't mean that it stays there. It literally could just fly down here. When it gets here, BlackRock decides to buy more, and boom, back to the upside. But this gap will be filled. So at this point, there's tons of excitement. There's tons of news. Everyone wants to buy every single crypto they can, but some people have a budget and they need to make some more money. So as always, we're always looking out for our team, our community, and we do have something that works where you don't have to start a new business. You don't have to do anything. You just rely on your network, and it really helps you make some extra money to put into the market.
Bull runners, this is super time sensitive, especially if you're looking to stack more crypto before the bull run is over. Did you know that Visa and MasterCard lost a $5.5 billion class action lawsuit for imposing unfair fees on merchants and business owners? So if you own a business, or if you know any business owners that process payments with Visa or MasterCard between 2004 and 2019, that's 15 years, you could actually be owed a refund of 1 to 1.5% of your total revenue from that period. That's a lot of money. For example, this business that generated 1.6 million in credit card revenue during those years is getting back $28,000. This business that generated over 7 million is getting back $93,000. And this business that generated over $20 million during those years is getting back over $320,000. That's money they didn't even know was on the table. And all they did was fill out a form through the link below this video. It literally takes less than a minute to see if you qualify, but you don't want to wait too long because the deadline to file is February 4th, 2025. So the sooner that you fill out the form below, the sooner that you can reclaim what's rightfully yours. Plus, if you don't have a business, you can actually earn 3% by referring businesses that do qualify by creating your affiliate account through the link below. So this is a no-brainer way to get money back in your pocket to use for your business, or if you want to use it for crypto or other assets to invest in, you can do that. So click the link below. Let's get you paid.